Welcome to Seize the Mains by Malhotra's IS Academy. I'm Surbhi Sardana and this is season 3 of our daily answer writing initiative. This initiative runs in parallel with our website. Every day we discuss one question through this video with its model answer with respect to mains on Seize the Mains initiative. That question with its model answer goes to our website in the mains answer writing section. As you can see, this is almost we are closing down to 150 questions now. हमारे 150 questions पूरे होने वाले हैं and all of these have been taken from current affairs. What you can do is, after watching the video, after getting the directions to how to approach the model answer, just go to the website and in the comment section post your own answers. The biggest problem with UPSC aspirants is that they do not find anybody to evaluate their answers, especially for free. It takes a lot of time for people to evaluate answers or to find the right evaluator. So we have our team supporting you. Post your answers on the website in the form of pictures or in the form of typed answers, and our team will evaluate those in the next few days and respond back to you with their feedback, with properly marked out of 15 or out of 10, and proper paragraph wise comments would be given. So yes, join this initiative if you haven't already done it. Start writing answers, start practicing for mains, and you will see immense improvement in your preparation. Let's see what is the topic. The topic is Arctic Ocean and the developing world. See, Arctic Ocean is very much far away from the developing world, but it has important implications for the developing world, especially countries like India. So we will take a question with respect to the Arctic Ocean. What are the impacts on Arctic Ocean due to climate change? That is a very common question. What are its impacts on the developing world, especially on India? So let's see what the question is. The question is, the melting of the Arctic ice offers new challenges, especially for developing countries like India. Elaborate. Answer in 150 words and submit your answers at rajayesacademy.com. The link is present in the description below. Let's look at the question again. The melting of Arctic ice offers new challenges, especially for developing countries like India. Offers or poses new challenges. That is how we'll proceed this question with. Offers is not the right word here. So the melting of Arctic ice poses new challenges. Melting of Arctic ice due to global warming, yes, it is taking place due to illegal exploration of mineral resources. It is taking place. So in our introduction, we'll definitely talk about Arctic. Is there anything to stop Arctic ice from melting? Is there any legal facility in place? Secondly, especially for the developing world, new challenges for the developing world. So what are these challenges? How does melting of Arctic ice or melting of the Arctic global warming over Arctic Ocean affect the developing world and especially countries like India? So we'll elaborate on the points through our knowledge, and we'll also add some technical details to it. How does it impact the Indian monsoon? How does it impact our coastal communities, coastal states, island states or island union territories? How does it impact them? So let's begin with this answer. Let's begin with writing an introduction. First, always start your answers generally. Do not just jump on the body paragraph. Do not jump on what you have been asked directly. Always start your answers with introduction. Give 2 to 3 lines of a brief introduction to what has been asked in the question. In this case, it is the Arctic Ocean that is in focus. So talk about the Arctic Ocean, talk about what are the protection measures for it, and how is India related to protection of Arctic. So yes, the Arctic also, such common terms, for example, the Arctic Ocean, they do not need definitions or they do not need basic introduction. They need some technical facts in the introduction when you talk about their first paragraphs. So the Arctic is a vast, fragile region and plays a huge role in everything from climate cycles to marine food webs and reflecting sunlight back into space. So yes, this is a definition or significance of Arctic that you have given here. It contains around 13% of world's reserves of oil and 30% of natural gas and other marine resources. So some data that why it could be important, especially for capitalistic countries, especially for highly industrialized nations. The protection of Arctic as a global common. It is one of the global commons of mankind, and its protection, since it has a lot of resources and a lot of importance, so its protection is ensured through the Arctic Treaty. After the Arctic Treaty, talk about Arctic Council, which promotes research in the Arctic Ocean region. So the Arctic Council is the intergovernmental body that promotes environmental protection and sustainable development in the region. Or what you can however, Arctic has witnessed enormous depletion in its ice cover due to the global warming and illegal mineral exploration activities. See, we started by talking about significance of Arctic. We gave 2 lines to significance. We talked about what is the role of Arctic in our first line. So this ends here. This is your first line. The second line gives some data on rich resources of the Arctic, rich marine resources, oil reserves, natural gas reserves. So this is your second line. Again, it is talking about significance and importance of Arctic. Now, since it is importance, you are talking about the protection. How it is protected? It is protected through the Arctic Treaty, and Arctic Council is the intergovernmental body that promotes research to protect the Arctic and to develop it in a sustainable manner. So, sustainable development and environmental protection. Protection के लिए आपने 2 lines लिखी है, and then you are talking about that even when these measures are in place, still there is melting of Arctic ice, or there is illegal mineral exploration taking place. And what can be your linkage point here? That melting of Arctic ice, it could affect the mass balance of glaciers. Marine ecosystems may face irreparable damage due to warming. That brings the following challenges for developing countries like India. So after the protection, you've talked about that even after the protection, there is exploitation happening, there is global warming happening, there is mineral exploration that is illegally going on there, especially by countries like Russia. In the linkage point, you have to talk about that what could this bring in. So melting Arctic ice, it could it could affect the mass balance of glaciers, and marine ecosystems could be affected. So after that, talk about that it could have the specific or the following ramifications or the following implications for the developing world, especially countries like India, which is the demand of the question. So here you have introduced your body paragraph. जो आपकी question की demand है, आपने उसको actually उसके लिए आपने एक जगह बनाई है. Now moving on to the body paragraph, see these points are very important, highly researched points. First of all, increase variability in monsoon rainfall. Now how can your Arctic Ocean or melting of Arctic ice impact monsoon? First of all, just mention in your point that India is an agrarian economy. That is important. So we rely on monsoon a lot. In many places we completely depend upon monsoon, and monsoon की वजह से हमारी economy बहुत impact होती है. When monsoon happens, where it happens, what is the intensity of monsoon, it also depends on western disturbances. It is created by oscillation in the air as it moves over the ice and snow in the Arctic. So if there are any changes in the ice and snow, western disturbance will not have enough moisture in it. So if there is less oscillation, the air will have lesser moisture, not western disturbance, the air will have lesser moisture, leading to less rainfall in the monsoons, and hence this the intensity of monsoons and their distribution, that will get impacted. Secondly, rise in sea levels. So we have around 7,500 kilometer long coastal boundary. Rise in sea levels due to melting of Arctic ice. And also because warmer water which is warm in temperature, that expands a lot. So there will be rise in sea levels. Then what will happen? Countries like India, which have a long coastline, they have they have chances of submergence, or some states could submerge, on which our economy, livelihoods and habitation depends. The third one is melting Arctic ice would lead to more global warming, which will have particularly greater impact on the Indian Ocean. See, if you look at the Atlantic Ocean, if you look at the Pacific Ocean, there is a circulation of water with the help of ocean currents that happens in all these oceans. So warmer water from equatorial or from tropical regions move upwards or downwards, northwards or southwards to the poles. And this ocean currents regulates the temperature of waters at tropical levels. But for Indian Ocean, you do not have such a circulation, because towards the northward end you have Asia itself. So there temperature balancing is not taking place. So Indian Ocean is becoming warmer and warmer, and Indian Ocean, it is the warmest ocean in the world, because the heat has no ventilation to the north as compared to the Pacific Ocean. So increased global warming will happen, and India and particularly regions in the Indian Ocean, countries in the Indian Ocean region will be on the receiving end of it. Now the fourth one is melting of old ice. See, zombie viruses have been in news for the past 6 months at least. So there is something that you have to pick up and write your content in the answers. Write about zombie viruses here, that new pandemics might come in, and if we see new pandemics and pandemics happening frequently, then these pandemics will adversely impact especially the developing world, specifically the developing world and countries like India. There would be economic and health implications for us. So frequent pandemics and new and frequent pandemics due to the interaction of earlier dormant zombie viruses with living populations. The fifth one is that, you know, as Arctic ice melts, there would be new sea routes that would be formed. New sea routes would come up from the Arctic Ocean, from the Arctic Circle itself, and, you know, more mineral exploration would take place, and then it would it would become a closed cycle which would even push global warming and ramifications for countries like India even further. So the opening of Arctic shipping routes and the exploration of mineral, hydrocarbons and marine living resources would add to the prosperity of the already affluent countries. जो already rich countries हैं, countries which are highly industrialized and which surround the Arctic Circle in one way or the other, who are permanent members of Arctic Council, they will become richer because obviously they would want to exploit the new sea routes. It would be easier for them to go around the world with the help of sea routes which would come up after the melting up of Arctic ice or due to the more melting up of Arctic ice, and they would want to explore these resources also. So they will become richer, and the southern countries or the southern regions where your most of the developing world resides, it would be at the receiving end of all these developments, and there would be greater or deepened north-south divide. So yes, these are the 5 broad points regarding melting of Arctic ice and its effects on the developing world. You can add points from your own side as well, include the economic parts, environmental parts, political parts in the answer. In the conclusion, since this question has been about negative impacts for the developing world, especially India, so it is highly advised that you bring focus back to India in the conclusion. So how can India focus on conserving the Arctic? We are already observers of the Arctic Council. We have a research station in the Arctic. But yes, there are some activities or some projects which can be quickened at least. So there was this Mosaic scientific expedition of Germany in which hundreds of scientists they got together to research on the Arctic, and India did not participate in it. And there is this polar research vehicle which can cut through ice, and it can help our scientists carry out better research in polar areas, especially the Arctic region. So that can be suggested that we need to quicken, or more budgetary allocation needs to be there, more political support needs to be there in expeditions like these. So the Arctic plays an immensely important role when it comes to livelihoods and living conditions, both livelihoods and living conditions in developing countries such as India. No wonder the effects of melting Arctic ice, they seem very far and they seem unrelatable also to somebody who has not studied geography. It might seem unrelatable that how can Arctic ice impact India? We are so far away. No wonder the effects of melting Arctic ice, they seem far, but they are real, and that is important. Hence, this area demands more budgetary focus and willingness on the part of government, or research in this area demands more budgetary support and political support. So, initiatives like Mosaic scientific expedition of Germany, where India did not participate, and development of a polar research vehicle hold great importance in this regard. So, that is what you can talk about. Definitely add points from your end in the body paragraph. You could come out with your own creative points, but make sure that they make sense and they add value to your answer. This full answer has been uploaded on our website rajisacademy.com. Click on the link that will take you to the website. It is present in the description below. Click on it, visit our mains answer writing section, visit our entire website. Participate in this initiative. It is entirely free of cost. It is entirely for your benefit, and let us know any comments, any improvements that you want in this initiative or as a whole in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already, and stay tuned. All the best to you.